not being grown any longer, and that's where the questions started to arise in my head, which was what is going on here in this village? Why are these fields remaining without being grown? And I think I'm a pretty visual person, and I think the visual disturbed me first, that something was changing. I had a camera, I took it into the fields. And if I look at the first shot, I'm watching the film after a long time, so when I look at the first shots of the film, everything's all over the place because I was still trying to figure out how to use it. And the idea back then was just to talk to people, understand what was happening and document it for myself. Because I imagined that there would come a day when my kids would ask me that what happened to the Kurturi, what happened to the fields, what was it like? And instead of telling them, it was like this, I said, maybe I'll just have these videos that I can show it to them or give them the hard drive and say, here's the hard drive. Somewhere in it are your answers. So that really was the way I started. Well, after I was about 8 months or 9 months into the project, at that time I had to call it a project. Actually, even at that point in time it was not a project, but 9 months into it, I had shot a fair bit, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, buddy, I don't think you can stop now. And I was a bit ambitious, but I didn't realize how long it would take me, and it took me another 3 years from there onwards, because by another year from there, I was well deep into it and, on my way. So yeah, that's pretty much the way it started.
There was also another comment made today morning that there are not enough documentaries made in India. So are we looking at maybe some future documentaries from you? We have another documentary specialist here.
Nalini has dedicated a lot of her life to making films about Goa. I can't really speak about India, but I can speak about Goa at least. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm constantly shooting. My stuff is not necessarily out there, but I'm working on different things, and a lot of the stuff that's around me in Kurturi and around Goa. So I think to answer your question, are there enough documentaries being made about Goa? I don't think.
That's not the question. There was a comment, but I would like to ask you, are there any future documentaries from your side?
For me, yeah, I will. I have shot a few things earlier, and I have to edit them. So to answer your question, yes.
Okay. Anybody would like to say something, ask something? The mic's open.
Hi. First of all, congratulations, it's a great film. I enjoyed watching it. And one of the things I noticed is that with some of the issues that you raise, you're very non-committal, so you show different sides, right? I'm thinking, for example, of the issue of whether or not there are people to work in the fields. On the one hand, you show this trend of kids, understandably not wanting to do this difficult job. And then, in addition to it, or next to it, you show these kids as well who are learning in the agricultural school. So you always have two sides, and I like that about what we just saw. My question is, do you think that things will change for the better? Do you think there is a future there? So, because we have these two perspectives, but which one is going to win out in the end?
Well, which one's going to win is going to be hard for me to predict. But I think that the approach that we kind of took to show, I think you're right, the approach that we took in making the film was to kind of try to balance both sides of the stories, because it's not either or, there are two things happening there. Will the future generations get into farming and take it up like the ancestors, like the way it was, is going to be challenging, I think. Purely because from the time I shot the film to where we are in Goa today, have things declined? I would say no, not yet declined. There is still farming, there's still agriculture, rice growing in the village going on, and that's because a lot of the older generation is still around, right? But there's a notable change that I see because I walk around the village every day and I see a lot of homes in the village being closed now because a lot of people have left Goa and migrated out. And if that continues to happen, then who will grow the fields? So it's not really, earlier the reasons why rice was not as lucrative was because there was no money in it. The film tells you about a few things, right? But now it's basically the migration is one of the biggest things. And when I was making the film, it was not as obvious as it is today. Otherwise, that would have been a part of the film as well. So I think that's the biggest challenge. So hard for me to say how it will pan out in the future. Very hard.
Hi, congratulations, fantastic documentary.
Thank you.
Just the way people migrate out.
Please sit.
Yeah, am I talking to someone?
Yeah.
So, just the way people migrate out, don't you think labor will migrate into Goa and continue working on the fields? And I'm saying this because I'm from Karanzara, so almost all our fields are gone. But when I think of bakers, we don't have so many Goan bakers anymore. But that doesn't mean it has stopped. It's just that someone else has come and kind of taken that spot, and these people are not Goan. So don't you think the same thing could happen in terms of agriculture as well?
Of course, I mean it's already happening, right? It's already happening. But the question is, I think, so will it die out? I don't think so, because I mean we still need to grow rice and we still will need, and the opportunity for employment will be there. And will people come in to take the vacuum that's being caused? I think so. But the point is, maybe there will be a cutoff in terms of whether they find it lucrative enough, right? If it is not lucrative enough for them, then probably the levels at which we are growing rice might drop. I'm not saying it's going to end, but there might be a decline or there might be a drop. That's why I said it's hard to predict. And the other thing is, Goa, like Fatima says in the film, and we've never been self-sustainable. We've always had to bring rice from outside. So a lot of our consumption, even though we're such a small state, and Kotturi was the granary of Salsette and produced rice for a large part of South Goa, we weren't sustainable, right? So hard to say, but yeah, I agree with you. We are going to get people who are going to come, and vacuums and gaps never stay empty. Somebody was going to come in and fill it. Has mechanization of agriculture changed it? Yeah, it has. It has changed it for the better in terms of. So I think that the decline in farming would have happened a long time ago if not for the introduction of mechanization, because the labor costs were going up. I mean, in principle, if you look at what was happening in the villages, farming was a joint family venture. We had large families that were brothers, uncles, aunties, cousins. Everybody got together, went into the fields and sowed the fields, right? So there was no need for labor. You didn't pay for labor, but then you had to start paying for it, and then that became uneconomical. So I think the mechanization of farming has helped it tremendously, and especially the new advent of the Father Quadros, who came in with the sowing part, because that was very hard as well, not just the threshing. So I think on both aspects it has provided relief to the farmers. It's hard to say how much. Well, it's not only about rice, it's not really, it is about rice and it is about farming, but more than that, there is a culture connected to it. There is song, there is music. I discovered so many things, the fields, the songs in the fields. There is an entire documentary could be made on just songs that were sung in the fields. And, just to add on to the point you made, if you look at the film, and I've watched it now, one of the things we tried to do was, rather than follow a particular narrative. We've got multiple narratives going on there. It's like we've taken multiple narratives and layered them in some sort of tapestry and put them out there in a way to hopefully provoke somebody in the future to watch it and go, I'm going to pick one aspect of it and follow this particular thread and tell this story. You know, in a way we try to kind of make it like a meta. You know, just put it out there and say, these are the possible things connected to farming in Goa. And there are multiple layers, and so you can go and pick a layer out. If you want to talk about music in the fields, you can do that. You want to talk about seeds, you can do that. You know, so there are different narratives that we've tried to weave into each other and yet tell the story of Goa, you know, and a local village. And that's why, yes, it's about rice, but when I say rice, you can just think about the literal rice we eat, but it's more than rice. It's about, you know, the culture that's connected to rice, the culture that's connected to us in Goa. And will someone come in and fill in the gaps? They will. Will rice go on? Yes. But the aspect, how much it affects our culture and changes is going to be. Will we still have those songs? No, we won't. Will we still have that music? We won't. But it's not gone. But at the end of the day, it's a personal thing. It depends, you know, whether it matters to you or not. You know.
What I feel is that agriculture should be there. Without agriculture cannot be culture, no? But at the same time, in future, in order to make it more cost effective, agriculture may change into horticulture. We all need fruits and other things, but not much of work involves in horticulture. So I do that at home. That's why I say our paddy fields there. Okay, let us plant now papaya trees and thing that you go and eat. Something just I'm saying that in light way.
Change is the only constant. I can't tell you what we're going to grow in the future. We might grow cacti and then, you know, cut it up and survive on the the cacti internal juice. I don't know, you know, with technology changing and our ideas changing, who knows what we're going to grow in the fields in the future. But this is just a film that just captures a moment in time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
know, that's all. So, yeah.
I think that about wraps it up.
Let me just say thank you to everybody. Thank you to all of you who stayed behind and watched the film. I appreciate it. As filmmakers, Nalini is here, and I'm sure she will share the sentiment that we go through a lot of pain and suffering and sleepless nights to tell the stories that we want to tell. So it's nice when people stay back and watch, and actually it's nicer when people interact after the film. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Vince. It was a lot that Vince accepted our invitation.